Hi, good morning. Intergenerational equity and sustainable development. Before actually explaining the meaning of those terms, I would just like to show you some pictures, just to get the tension out. So, 1986, Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska, USA. One of the biggest and worst oil spills in United States history. The water was filled with about 10.8 million gallons of toxic crude oil, which resulted in many dead animals such as otters and birds. 27 years later, the outcomes of this accident still affect the area immensely in many different ways. Populations have abandoned the area yet to come back, which affects both the equilibrium and balance of the ecosystem, as well as locals' life. As fishermen, for example, have nothing to fish. 1954, Operation Casa Bravo and Marshall Islands. The first United States test of a dry-fuel thermonuclear hydrogen bomb. It is said that Casa Bravo was about 1,000 times the force of the Hiroshima bomb. The explosion sent irradiated coral dust throughout the atolls, the Coral Islands. Neighboring atoll populations were neither informed of the tests nor relocated prior to them. Today, those populations continue to experience health issues, cultural upheaval, and physical dislocation due to the environmental degradation produced by the tests and the effects of climate change. 1961, in the midst of the Vietnam War, the US military decided to launch Operation Ranch Hand, which included spraying Agent Orange herbicides, with the intention of destroying the country's agricultural land as well as tropical forests, in which both members of the Vietnamese army as well as members of the USSR communist forces used to hide. The contaminated soil and sediment continue to affect the citizens of Vietnam today, poisoning their food chain and causing illnesses, serious skin diseases, and a variety of cancers in the lungs, larynx, and prostate. All these are only some of human actions that still affect the present in horrible ways. Only some mere examples. So, the theory of intergenerational equity states that humans hold the natural and cultural environment of the earth in common both with other members of the present generation as well as with other generations, past and future. Seems pretty obvious, right? But it's not to most people. On similar grounds, sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. There have been many universal attempts at achieving both intergenerational equity and sustainable development, such as the Global Goals for Sustainable Development, which were first introduced by the United Nations in 2000 and then updated in 2015. However, each country needs to alter their policies and strategies accordingly so as to be able to achieve true sustainability, whilst at the same time benefiting or at least not hindering their own economy. Thus, the choice of means for achieving sustainability by each different government must be tailored to each country's needs, their socioeconomic condition, their environmental status, etc. Most countries have been trying to shape their policies around the preservationist model. This approach to intergenerational equity generally has to do with the idea that present generations should not be destroying or depleting resources, rather saving natural resources for next generations to come, while preserving the quality of our environment. This brings us to the three main principles that surround intergenerational equity, and which, if implemented, could help in achieving sustainable development. First of all, we have the principle of conservation of options, which has to do with the idea that biological diversity will lead to vitality. Thus, through the principle, current generations should be determined to conserve the diversity of the natural resources at hand, as there is greater chance of future generations thriving if they have more options towards addressing their own problems. Conservation of quality, which demands we maintain the quality of the earth and the resources the way we received it, so as for future generations to have the same chances in life as past ones. However, recent generations have been using water, air, and soil as free resources where they have been dumping their waste, and as a result have harmed flora, fauna, and future generations.
Nevertheless, conservation of quality does not mean that the environment should remain in the exact same condition. Rather that future generations should predict breaking points in the environment which should indicate the need for purposeful human involvement. And lastly, we have conservation of access, which allows present generations to access natural resources in order to improve their socioeconomic status, assures they provide similar rights to future generations as well. As I reach my concluding remarks, I would just like to mention these.
Intergenerational equity and sustainable development are two inseparable theories, which, if followed, are the only way of achieving true sustainability in our planet. And humans are primarily responsible for the state of the planet, whether that is good or bad. Because since the beginning of time, we have been gradually deteriorating the earth and its resources, acting as if we are the ones who own it. Well, actually it's quite the opposite. The earth owns us. So, the decision of protecting or destroying the environment lies in our own hands. So, we might as well make the right decision. Thank you.